Are you looking to move to Leonardtown, Maryland and trying to decide where you want to live on the water? Watch this video. I'm going to give you 5 tips to help make that decision super easy. Alright, what's up everybody? Like I said in the video before, I'm going to talk about how to find the right waterfront house in Leonardtown, Maryland. I'm going to give you 5 tips to make that super easy. But before I get started, I don't want to get too far ahead of myself. My name is Schou and I'm with EXP Realty here in Southern Maryland. If you're looking to move to Southern Maryland and you're looking for waterfront, make sure you reach out to me. Use that contact information below. Call me, text me, whatever you want, and I'd be happy to help you out. Also, if you want, you can scroll down, click on that link that's in the first comment, and it will schedule a Zoom meeting with me, one-on-one with you, so we can talk about your home buying needs. And last but not least, if you have not yet, and you're thinking about moving to Southern Maryland, or you like this Southern Maryland content, make sure you scroll down, click the subscribe button, click the little bell so you're notified every single time we put out new content about moving to Southern Maryland. Alright, so like I said, what we're going to be talking about is how to find waterfront in Leonardtown, Maryland. I'm going to give you my 5 kind of things you should be looking at when you're making a decision if waterfront in Leonardtown is right for you. So the number 1 thing we're going to talk about is where to look for waterfront in Leonardtown. Number 2 is the types of houses you're going to find around Leonardtown. Number 3 is the regulations about like developing a property or even maintaining your property in Leonardtown. Number 4 is what kind of activities can you expect to find around the water in Leonardtown. And number 5 is that frequently asked questions, just kind of those general things that I get when you're looking at waterfront in almost any area of Maryland. All right, so the first thing we're going to talk about is where you can find waterfront on the Chesapeake Bay. All right, so the first thing we're going to talk about is where we can find waterfront in Leonardtown. And there's 2 main places. There's the Potomac River and there's Brandywine Bay itself. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to go right into Google Maps and I'm going to show you those 2 areas. Starting out, you can see right here, this is actually the Potomac River, and it's a lot of farmland and some bigger lots. But this is all considered Leonardtown, and it's a Leonardtown zip code. When you get closer to the mouth of Brandywine Bay, you can see there's a few more, like, I want to call them communities, just more, closely gathered houses that have some piers as well. But definitely in this area of the Potomac, you're definitely looking at the fact that it's going to be, kind of bigger farm fields, or even you might have a chance of being on one of these creeks down here. But it's not necessarily open waterfront because you can see that it's tough to get out of some of these creeks because of the way the channels are. Now, kind of going around this point, and I zoomed out a little bit there, the main area where you're going to find, I would say, navigable and, usable waterfront, definitely in the Chesapeake, or the main place that you're going to find good waterfront that's usable, has a pier and all that kind of stuff in Leonardtown is definitely in Brandywine Bay. This side over here is the Brandywine Bay neighborhood, and you can see it's much more closely packed. There's a different community pier for a lot of these houses here, and there's also some of the houses that are on there have the different piers for them, so that's a great place to look. Across the shoreline, it's a little more sparse, it's a little bit more of that farm kind of feel. There are some smaller neighborhoods like this right here, but for the most part, this is where you're going to find most of the waterfront in Leonardtown. And to be honest, while there are a fair amount of houses that are in this area, it's really tough to find a for sale or a house for sale that is on the water in Leonardtown. Now, kind of unique to Leonardtown, they do have some townhouses that are on the water. I wouldn't say they're waterfront because you're not able to put a pier right here, but the town of Leonardtown, not in this picture, does now have a big pier that kind of extends out right around there and can make it so, at least if you're in these townhouses, you have some way to access the water other than this kind of boardwalk right here. Now, it's not a private pier or anything like that, so you'd be sharing it with everyone that's coming into Leonardtown, but it is an option if you're looking for that townhome living and you want to be on the water. That kind of gets me to the next thing. For the most part, in Leonardtown, if you're looking for waterfront, you're going to be looking at single-family homes. Now, the exception, of course, is those townhomes I showed you before, but they don't have a dedicated pier to themselves, so it's not really like that Chesapeake Beach or places like that where you're, you have a townhouse and you have the, your community pier right outside of there, it really is something you'd be sharing with the people visiting Leonardtown itself. So for the most part, it is just single family homes that are located on bigger plots of land. It definitely can be tough because of that, because there's just not many that come up for sale regularly on the water in Leonardtown. And when they do, because of the school district they're in, because of, it always having a little bit more land, and because Breton Bay and that area of the Potomac is a really nice area of the river, they obviously go for a lot more than other places around St. Mary's County, especially down towards like, Piney Point and places like that. So definitely a highly sought after commodity in St. Mary's County. All right, so the third thing I want to talk about are the regulations that surround buying waterfront in St. Mary's County. If you buy a house and it already has a pier, you're kind of in luck, because for the most part, where that pier is probably okay. But where you start running into some problems is if you buy a house that doesn't have a pier and you need to put a pier in. St. Mary's County is actually pretty strict about how close you can get to your neighbor's property lines. A lot of different places have it so, Anne Arundel County is about 15 feet from their property lines that extend out in the water. St. Mary's County is 25 feet. So that really makes it so you need at least about 55 to 60 feet of shoreline just to be able to put a pier on there, if those property lines are going out in the water the right way and not crossing each other. So it can become a little bit of an issue. So while you're going out there and looking, make sure you understand if you're putting a pier on that property, you got to know where you want to put it and if you're going to have enough space based on those setbacks that St. Mary's County puts out of 25 feet. Now, even besides that, of course, all of Maryland has a critical area, and that's 1,000 feet of the shoreline, and it limits what you can put in or on your lot, what you can cover, if you can put a pool, if you can put more patios and decking, and even the size of your house. So when you're looking at that house, or when you're looking at, a lot, you want to make sure you really understand what you're getting into, so you don't buy something that you can't grow into or you can't build on because of being in the critical area. And last but not least, there's the buffer zone too that you have to worry about when you're dealing with waterfront, and that's within 100 feet of the water. And a lot of the times, a buffer zone is kind of like a no-touch zone. You're not supposed to really, cut down any trees or do anything like that. You can maintain existing yards, but it's really the most restrictive area around the Maryland waterfront. Now, something interesting that just came out as of June 2022, they are starting to allow variances in St. Mary's County to be able to have pools kind of located within that buffer zone. So that's a big deal, because a lot of people that buy waterfront can't have pools in their backyard because it was in the buffer zone. But they just changed that. So I think that's going to be a big change that's going to have a big impact on a lot of property owners in that waterfront area. So number 4, what activities are there to do in Leonardtown by water? To be honest, it's just kind of, you got to go either to the marinas that are on the water, or maybe up to the Leonardtown wharf and go and walk around downtown. But it's more of just getting out on the water, kind of that rural feel of just going out and enjoying stuff. Like I said, there's Fitzy's, which is a little marina that has a great restaurant. There's downtown Leonardtown that I showed in the videos earlier, where you can dock your boat and walk up the hill and go around in downtown. But man, there's just all types of nature to enjoy too. If you go straight across Breton Bay, and I'm showing it on the map right now, you can go over to Shark's Tooth Island, where you can have some of the best shark's tooth hunting in, I think all of Maryland. And that's a really neat thing. Now, there is a yearly fee that you need to pay, and you can reach out to them to do it. But I mean, it's worth it. And there's just so many cool things that you can go and do that doesn't involve, going and spending money or going and, eating food or something like that. You can just go out, water ski, go over to Shark's Tooth Island. There's always a party there on the weekends. So it's just a good time. And so that's one of my favorite things to do, definitely when I'm on the water in Leonardtown. All right, so my last thing I'm going to talk about, number 5, is the frequently asked questions. The biggest one, and I've said this in a bunch of other videos, is flood insurance. And number 1 thing I say to do when you're looking at flood insurance is just ask your insurance agency. I have a great insurance agent right in Leonardtown, Dan Burris of Old Town Insurance, and he does a great job of letting me know when I'm looking at different properties, or maybe I'm looking at it with someone else, what that flood insurance is going to be about. Now, they're always quotes. It doesn't mean it's going to be exact, so kind of factor in that that budget a little bit. But for the most part, they've been spot on with what they've said. I've seen flood insurance break up a few deals, so make sure before you really make that decision, you understand what kind of flood insurance you're getting and what kind of thing you're getting into. So that would be my most frequently asked question when it comes to waterfront. Other ones that I hear a lot about is why are there not a lot of waterfront homes available in Leonardtown? Like I said before, there's just a lot of bigger lots, and that just means less homes for sale. And honestly, too, people hold on to them. People really like owning waterfront in Leonardtown, so we just don't see them as much. All right, so hopefully this video is helpful. If you have any questions about moving to Leonardtown or need some help, make sure you use that contact information below. Call me, text me, and I'd be happy to help you. All right, so you can also scroll down to the first comment, click on the link that's in that comment, and it will schedule a Zoom meeting with me, one-on-one with you, and we can talk about all your waterfront home buying needs in Leonardtown. And last but not least, if you haven't yet, make sure you click the subscribe button, click the little bell so you're notified every single time we put out new content about moving to Southern Maryland. Hope to see you on the next video.